Okay, so we're going to call to order and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd say good morning. Good morning.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, good morning. It is 9:00. Yeah. Director Armstrong.
Here.
Director Mikowski. Here. Director Flora. Director Swan.
Here.
Director here.
Okay. I entertain the approval of the agenda.
I'll approve the agenda.
And it was moved by Mikowski, Robert Swan. By Robert Swan. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public comment. Members of the public are appreciated for taking the time to attend this meeting and provide comments on matters of district business. Public comments are subject to 3-minute time limit, 10 minutes for any individual. Although no action can be taken that was not listed on the agenda, please know that we are listening very carefully. Okay, information items. Fire department.
Right. Morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and GCSD staff, Fire Captain Chairman Seville, today to present your guys' fire department report for the month of May 2026. As everybody's well aware, we do have 2 engines for the benefit of the community of Groveland, one on behalf of Groveland Community Services and one for Coleman County. The district engine for last month ran a total of 47 calls. There was 37 medical aids, 1 traffic collision, 3 hazardous condition, 6 public service calls, 1 aid to the county call. The county engine 631 that's also running out of station that's one, so a total of 23 calls for 16 medical aids, 1 vegetation fire, 1 other type. Traffic collision and hazardous condition for public services with a total of 2 assists to Groveland Community Service District. A nice little graph to look at. I'm not sure what they're referring to on the top one, but total calls year to date for GCSD is 207. We're in line to be one of the busier years in the last 5 years. Significant incidents within the district. On the 21st of May, we had a traffic collision near the entrance to the Twin Pines Apartments. The 77 responded. There was no injuries. Mission company assisted the driver back to their residence. Apparatus, all district owned apparatus are currently in service in good operating order thanks to the hard work of the guys in the shop. Station training. You guys know we're only as good as our training. We need to keep up on special skills and to provide the services provided. Last month's topic of the training was rope rescue. Rope rescue is one of the specialized services that we provide to the community here in Groveland, and this is one of the spots notoriously gets rope rescue and technical rescue vehicle accidents in the county. Because of that, we train off more frequently, and we probably have more capability and equipment to deal with that than any other station. Looks like they did a joint training between the county engine, district engine, and the 2 CAL FIRE engines stationed up on Merrill Road. That's our primary response for rope rescue in this area. It's vital that everybody's on the same page and the same level of understanding of that service, those systems. Let's see, fire department news. Received some updated extrication equipment. Received money from a Office of Traffic Safety grant to purchase more extrication equipment. So the engine has always carried extrication equipment. This stuff that we bought is more specialty extrication equipment. There's small things to cut brake pedals, smaller tools to get access into certain areas. Again, this is the Highway 120 corridor. is a notorious area of the county that we get technical extrication or technical, vehicle accidents that end up having the technical vehicle extrication involved with them. So it's really important, again, our remote location and frequency of these events, that we have these tools to be able to get people out of the situation and in a timely manner so they can get to the team. So getting this equipment through the grant is very, very beneficial to the community and allows us to be better at our job, provide a better service. Let's see. At the time this report was written, burn permits were, burning was suspended below 3,500 feet. I think as of last week, the unit decided to cancel burning completely. Probably free middle of June, and things are burning. So no more burning until winter or fall. Let's see. They listed a couple of phone numbers here for assistance. There's a number you can call for if you need defensive space and assistance. You can get information on fire prevention efforts being taken in the county and the unit, and always, if you need us in an emergency, 911 is the number to go. With that, is the end of the report, and as always, we are proud and grateful for the opportunity to serve as your local fire.
Awesome. Yes, very proud. Love the new equipment. It's all battery operated. So nice.
It's, so tough box. So I'm an instructor. I'm a registered state fire training instructor, and I regularly teach auto extrication at the college for the academy and as well for several different departments. And I've had to adjust the way that I teach, because when I learned how to do this stuff, we use the old tools that were attached by hydraulic lines and gas powered motors and things. So with new tools, it's so much faster. We can get better tools implemented and operational faster. A lot of cars faster. So it really is cutting edge technology, and it really does make a difference on the impact that we're able to have on extrication calls. So it's very, very beneficial for us to have this.
Hearing that motor whining on.
Oh, and just that alone,
Nice.
increases communication, makes less stress. It's just better for everybody. Oh,
Yeah,
real nice.
I wasn't able to. Okay, moving on. CERT, Bob, wearing two hats today.
All right, Bob Asquith, Program Manager, CERT. We co-hosted with Pine Mountain Lake Safety Committee 2 workshops. Last one was June 6th, and they went well. Both people enjoyed it. We haven't had the turnout that we had at the beginning. When we first started these up at EV Free, we had, I think there were 44 people at the biggest one. And we've had, between the 2 workshops, we had almost 20 people. So looking for a different way to do it next year. We met with David Salzar, who is the acting head of OES, and they donated to our CERT team 40 backpacks. So we figure that's at least 40-year supply. And we also got some nice firefighter rehab gear that they had donated to us. So we'll be conducting our annual firefighter rehab training session the last Saturday. It's the 27th of June. We'll have our ambulance, and our medical team is checking out all the stuff that's in it, make sure that it works. Let's see. We're still awaiting Mr. Swan, Director Swan. We're still awaiting the county to train us on how to use the telephones. I don't
Sure, that'll take a little while before you gotta get someone to charge it.
Yeah, we've had a couple of meetings with the sheriff, who is now assuming OES, and we'll try to get that on the agenda. And let's see. Oh, we're scheduling the July meeting, our team meeting with PG&E. PG&E has a section they teach just for CERT and SAR members, and so we'll be holding that, and that's now scheduled for the end of June, end of July. Any questions?
Thank you, Bob.
You guys gonna be out of here in time for one of the early morning TV?
All right, moving on. Operations.
Please not a bit.
Pictures.
Unless there are any questions, I
What's out there? Is that actually particularly know that whole every
News.
that?
Field. Did we hire somebody?
Yes, you've been more engaged in it than I have.
We have submitted an offer of employment, which has been accepted for the operations supervisor position. His name is James Young, and he's coming to us from a very long distance. He's all the way in Bakersfield, and he will be moving into the employee housing that we have sometime this week. And his first official day is next Monday, start at the district. So yes, it's been an interesting process, and we're very excited and hopeful. That we have found a good fit and a good replacement for Mr. Andy Klein, who is very, very sad to see him depart from us. So yeah, that's all the news I have for now, but
Great.
Questions or comments?
I'm just curious, would you say that the existence of the housing is an important factor?
It was necessary. So this new employee did not want to move into the employee housing and was trying to find housing and realized he could
So you
not.
decided he wanted to take the job. You can find a place.
Correct. So he wanted to take the job. We knew we told him we had employee housing. He said, I don't want to have the employee housing. Okay. And then he realized he couldn't find housing anywhere and had to the housing to allow say more time.
That's what it's for.
Yeah, and it's exactly. And so we just got that situated because we do the fair market rent through HUD. And right now because we had one employee living in it, we were charging, it's a 3-bedroom, but we went through legal counsel and we charged the 1-bedroom rate. Well, now we're treating it as a 2-bedroom because there's 3 bedrooms, but the 3rd bedroom isn't. And so anyway, it's just figuring out the process of how we do this and now moving utilities into the district's name because they were just in the one tenant's name. So we're moving them under the district, and then we're doing it by a third because the individual has a spouse moving in with them. So it's going to be 2/3 to 1/3 of utilities. So doing one of those, I've never, it's a new thing for us to figure out exactly how to do this and what to do.
Well, that's good. So I mean, that is actually why I bought the place.
It is.
With
Yes.
this kind of.
You're gonna love it up here.
Well, it's funny. You know where he comes from? It comes from a place called Pine Mountain Club.
Oh.
And when he wasn't looking for a job, and when he got the notification in the mail, he thought, "What? My company's hiring? Like, what is this?" And then he realized it was Pine Mountain Lake. It's
Pine Mountain.
It's down by Bakersfield, I think, up
Up in the hills.
in the hills. Yes, very remote.
Is it a Boise Cascades?
I don't know.
I don't think they got that far south.
They were doing a lot of them all over up here.
No.
Guys from CHP show.
I thought you wrote it down wrong. I thought he wrote his address. I thought, oh, he got a new PO box up here. Oh, that's what I had Jen. I'm like, Pine Mountain Club.
He
But
will
then-
be doing that in the
Yeah.
every time he writes his address, he'll be
Like-
club. It cracks it down. People will think he's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the zip file that gives it away.
yeah. I looked at him. I'm like, oh, take this.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Great.
Good.
Okay, moving on to administrative.
Okay, so we continue making progress on the district's map digitization project, scanning and importing 361 maps into the record repository over the past 2 weeks. Jen Allsweed also developed a bulk metadata update process that allows thousands of map records to be corrected and standardized efficiently, improving data quality and significantly reducing processing time. This is one of the really important things is through this process, you're gonna put everything in, but as we knew, it would develop and, oh, we should have added this or we should have added that. And this allows you to do a mass update and add it across thousands of them. So now you can, whether it's some identifying piece of a map that works better for like a search process, you can update it all at once in one fell swoop. So Jen has done an excellent job. She has reached a major milestone when she said she has down to the last final hanging maps in Steve's office, and that the district is now well over 90% complete on the digitization of its entire map system.
How does, never mind, I can ask you.
Okay. The next, after that is complete, we're moving to district property owner files, because the maps and then the property files are the two like records of the district that we have just tons and tons of. So when she's done with that, she's going to be moving up to property files and probably working with Andrea of our staff on that as well. Andrea continues to still make a lot of progress on the workflows. A lot of forms being uploaded to the website and actually being utilized by customers and coming in. So it's really exciting because Laserfish, with bringing Jen on and Andrea, has just skyrocketed. And it's really exciting to see something that we've been trying to get, off the ground and started actually happening. And it's so beneficial to us as the district and just as when we're trying to track down records and everything else. So really happy to report the progress on that. Michelle continued to work on the development of the fiscal year 26-27 budget. The preliminary budget was presented to the board on June 3rd, and the final budget is on the board's agenda today for consideration and adoption. Megan is working on the annual tax roll process, and the list of parcels to be placed on the tax roll, along with the public hearing notice, was published in the Union Democrat last week. I believe it was close to $41,000, $45,000 in delinquency. That's so far. Hopefully, once this process starts, we send notices to the delinquent accountants and customers, letting them know that they're going to go on, the property is going to be cleaned and they're going on the tax roll. And generally, we knock that number down by about half before we actually place them on the tax roll. So hopefully that's the same this year. And then that public hearing will be in the first meeting in July.
Yeah, July.
So we got to get it on the tax roll for August. And then lastly, just an update on the fire assessment process. There are 21 days remaining until July 8th public hearing. And at which time all of the assessment ballots are due. To date, the district has received 1,172 ballots through the mail, the payment drop box, and the ballot box that was located outside the Resilience Center. This total doesn't include those that people have just been coming in and dropping off without, us. We only keep record and track of ones that come through, like the mail and stuff, and ones that are accidentally dropped in the drop box or that were dropped here during the general election. So there's definitely more than that have actually been received. Just pretty significant number.
What's the number again?
1,170.
How many ballots are
3,000, I want to say close to like 3,600 ballots. I have to double check the numbers, but I think right around
potential?
there. And the district has, we've been getting it out on social media. We've been putting flyers out. We did we find that the mass text messaging notices seem to be very effective, especially for those that are living off the hill. We sent a reminder last week, the week before.
It was last week.
Okay. Yeah, a month from when the due date was. And we received, I don't know how many requests for replacement ballots from that text message. A lot.
Yeah, because we included the link to the website if you didn't receive your ballot or if you lost it, placement. So that was really successful. So got probably a few dozen requests to replace.
And tomorrow will be the final community meeting regarding the proposed assessment. The meeting will be conducted in an open house style from 5:30 to 7:30. People can drop in at any time during that window that's convenient for them. It's their opportunity to have a one-on-one with either Pete or John Kiefer with Kiefer's Insurance Agency will be here, as well as Chief Cashy. with CAL FIRE, to come and have a one-on-one. We've had 3 meetings so far. We've had 1 meeting every month since March where we've done formal presentations. So we don't feel there's anything else that we can formally present that we haven't done so several times already. So this is really just for people to come in and have more of a personal conversation with different representatives, depending on what maybe.
Just a one-on-one, people coming in and talking to them, or you guys standing over microphones?
No microphones, no nothing. We'll have a table set up around the room and we'll be greeting people as they come in, and Pete and I will be there to address questions specific to assessment, and then you'll have the chief there to do fire operations, and then you'll have John Keeper there to if people have insurance questions. So yeah, so that's scheduled for tomorrow.
Oh, that's tomorrow.
Yep. Here, that room, 5:30 to 7:30. And we have also sent out notification for that one last week, and we did one yesterday, and we're gonna send out another one there, I think probably this afternoon. Yes, that's my report.
How is that at 5?
5:30 to 7:30.
Do you want us to attend, just for support or? For support or for board member?
Might be up to you. It's always beneficial to have you there. The hard part is that I think, I plan to drop by. That's the format. Because we should make sure that we don't get inadvertently saying something alienating.
Exactly what I thought.
Or if a public member asks 3 different board members the same question.
It's 3 different answers.
Hopefully, if it's a factual question, he gets the same answer. I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about is sure that we don't rise to the occasion in a
I had planned on doing the same.
When
When I thought it was a presentation, I planned on being there. And when I realized that it wasn't, I thought, well, I kind of felt like we should stop by, but we could purposely kind of tag team. I told you to be there multiple one time.
talking after the meeting.
Yeah.
I don't, I think it's important to have a little bit of presence there. Can't answer. Theoretically, we could answer questions if they're just factual questions. There's the cutoff date for turning your ballot. Second answer to that.
It gets into like nuts and bolts. I would be referring it to your.
If somebody asks, for example, why can't we be like Twain Hart? It's a difficult.
Yeah.
Minutes. People have their taxes.
I mean, the thing is that is, I think it's better for us not even to answer that question, not to get asked that question, so I have to answer it.
What's wrong with saying that they have something?
I actually got, in an event that I went to here just recently where I just got.
Well, anything wrong with answer how you should answer it. So that's just because it's biased or something. It seems to me.
Yeah.
Advantage to Twain Hart Fire Department. That is the correct answer. Is go ask one of these guys.
Yes.
They can answer the question.
And we don't want to have a runner. I want to talk about 3 people talking about same. Straight. Let's talk.
Any other question, comments? Okay. Move on to general manager.
Okay, not part of the written report, but a big chunk of this last month, the last couple months, has been trying to interpret the the assessment and interpret the comments and questions and make sure that we're providing understandable factual information in many cases, the questions have already been asked one way or another. We've got answers on the website. We've got answers all over the place. But in many cases, people don't want to have to search for it. They just want to read it on social media. And that's the difficult part, is because, you know, social media is, it would be full time just trying to feed information out there about what's real and what's not. So that's been a big part of our time, is just trying to understand that. And there's almost no way to put out the fires fast enough. At the same time, you know, because all we're providing is just absolutely actual information based on our analysis, based on the years of time that we've spent looking at this, all of the options that we've looked at with partnering with the county and trying to make this thing happen without in an environment where we don't have the ability to reduce the expenses enough where revenue can cover. That's the difficult thing to be able to explain in a simple manner, you know, in a non-advocacy manner. So it's a good opportunity tomorrow for us to answer some of these questions directly. A lot of people really want to know what's going on. They really want to understand and not get it from social media. They understand. So one thing that has finally come out is the Prop 4 that was approved back 4 years ago. Proposition 4 had a big chunk of money in it for parks, some money in it for water conservation that hasn't really rolled out yet. But the money for parks is rolling out, and because we rely on grants to do any improvements at the park, not necessarily expansion. You know, some people gosh, she says she spent a lot of money on the park. Well, the focus now is revenue generation and operating efficiency, because our budget is not good in the park, just it never has been. Just because we don't have the property tax money and the costs has gone up significantly. Watering the grass takes up a big chunk of the budget. That can be done much more efficiently. But these, the Prop 4 money that we qualify for through the California Department of Parks, but they have a ranking criteria, which is the only way that you get funded is if you rank in the, you know, 95 to 100 points out of 100. To do that, you have to. One of the big criteria is the number of park acres per population. You know, the lower the number of park acres you currently have per population, the higher you score. And they classify in their current, what they do is they put out guidelines, and those guidelines then go public, you get comments on them, then they make final guidelines and they release the application. Their guidelines are similar to what they've been before, but they're we would not score well in some of it, just because they, for example, they have the U.S. Forest Service and the BLM land is planned. And the population is very low because they don't consider any visitor tourist population. It doesn't matter. It's not ours. It's just how many park acres do the public in that area have available? Access. And they are in their guidelines. They're considering the BLM Forest Service land as park acres. Sphere of influence.
Just districts.
No, it's based on, it's within a half-mile radius of what project that you're doing. And you can see that what it is it's based on urban areas. You know, making sure that people can walk or bike to a park. That's what it's, the state guidelines always are. So we spend a significant amount of time researching the guidelines and then commenting on the guidelines that got to be in by the end of this month. Collect criteria, trying to get them to change their scoring Right, so that they will not include just BLM land in general, but BLM land that's accessible and has developed facilities. Instead of just bare land with a bunch of dead trees that you can't get to. And so trying to get them to, have criteria for that, so that we can score higher. And then also, taking into consideration the transient or visitor population have to influx because they use the park facilities. By this morning, very few locals there, but a lot of tourist traffic using the park facilities. And so those are points we're trying to make with them. We'll see if they change their guidelines at all. Let's look at a reach out from them because I think we've sent some pretty creative stuff to try to get them to change it. That's the way that you work with these propositions, and that's why they have a public process. Because the parks people really do want to make it work for all. They work in a box, and that box is urban and it's disadvantaged communities and that kind of stuff. We qualify on the disadvantaged community side for the park grants. Qualify based on size, all that. Really, that was a big effort. First of this month. CSDA, as vice president, we've had a few meetings this last month. Not a huge amount to report out on there, but and fire services planning, non-administrative stuff, but working with a local group called SWIFT, which is the Southwest Interface Team that's basically looking at the Mariposa Tuolumne County line and things that we can do together as agencies to plan. Fire doesn't understand county boundaries. And it's really an interesting group. I don't speak their language all that well, but the main thing is that they're planning fuel production projects and other things jointly and prioritizing those to bring forward for funding because Prop 4 and money through the state is also becoming available.
And so where the component numbers of SWIFT are. How do you?
It's the county, the Resource Conservation District, U.S. Forest Service, CAL FIRE. We attend, Mariposa County attends, their fire department, Mariposa County attends. Hetch Hetchy. That's the
core. So entity, public entities.
Yes.
In the
Public. Well, Pine Mountain Lake Safety person, I don't remember his name, attends all of them. He's attending on behalf of the Fire Safe Council. They're the Fire Safe Council. So there's a lot of
public.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts there. And I included in the materials there, not the entire community wildfire protection plan, because that's the driving plan for prioritizing your fuels reduction projects, but I included it's Appendix F, which is Planning Unit F, which is basically looking at that area prioritization. There's projects that are primarily, from Moccasin up and, protecting the community from the west side. It looks like the highest priority right now, some on the far side of Groveland. And then up on the Mariposa line. Any questions on that exciting stuff?
Is this the one we got in the mail, fill out so they can come on our property? Any work?
Yeah, was that from the Resource Conservation District? Yeah, they already have funding for that. They're coordinating with us for some staging areas and different things. But that is it's a project that they got funded for. Hopefully we'll be able to help them reel that out a little bit. Anything we can do to reduce the fuel load and It's the truck's places to get in, and
I got that, I sent it in, then I got another one, so. Got mine back or.
okay. I didn't see that mailing. I mean, if you want, I'd like to know. I mean, I can reach out to Lindsay at the Resource Conservation District.
I'll make a copy.
Okay.
Remember that one.
Great. One other thing that is not in a written report that we've been working really hard on is if you remember on the trail, the Hetchy Railroad Trail project, we got money. The Caltrans allocate money for the whole project through construction. But as it is with Caltrans, you have to go through the permitting, planning, and approvals, agency approvals first, then get Caltrans blessing, through their California Transportation Commission, then move on to engineering, plans, specifications, and estimates. And you get their approval, then you get right of way, then you get their approval, then you move on to construction. Okay. So we're in the process right now. According to our schedule, we should have already been in plan specifications, but we've been well over a year in getting the approvals from Caltrans on the environmental, the National Environmental Policy Act, the NEPA document. We'll submit it. Our engineering firm will submit it, and it'll sit there. And then last minute they'll come back with some more studies that need to be done. Do those. So it's been 3 iterations of back and forth with additional studies meet the requirements. So we haven't been able to go to the California Transportation Commission, meets every other month, to get the money for plans and specs. However, at the same time, we're working with the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission for the acquisition of the property, and they're getting anxious to get that done. And we don't have any money to be able to actually fund the additional work to meet the requirements to purchase the property. And so, luckily, we have partners like the Tuolumne County Transportation Commission, and I'm very aware of that. But they had reached out to them because we can use state money all day long. We just can't use federal money. We can be allocated state money. So reached out to them to see if they had the state money available, and luckily they have some leftover money or non-committed money from other projects that we're in the process now of moving into the project, so that will increase the money we have available and increase how quickly. So all of that requires a kind of dance to get done. So that'll allow us to be able to continue with finishing the documents for SFPUC to approve going forward with the appraisal, get the appraisal done, get ready. Acquisition. You'd think it was just simple. People think state gives us money to do things. Oh, just do it. And advance money and all that. It really is a big chunk of time to plan and make sure that they're funding everything else. But the TCTC's been just a fabulous partner. We need them. So I'll keep it moving until we get the NEPA approval, then we can start. Still on for construction 27.
And then that's gonna be also double as a evacuation.
Right.
Which is pretty awesome. Our constituents called me. How are we supposed to get out of here? And I said, well, when we get this trail done, I'll be able to move the ballard, use that as.
Well, at least, if you can imagine the congestion on Main Street, this will at least, if nothing else, keep the cars there, and you send the trucks down, all the emergency vehicles down the other way. So it'll be 12-foot wide paved and
Been on, Any questions or comments? On to proclamations. Wow. Recognition of Rachel Groveland, 9 years of service, Grove community. It seemed like 9 years. Bet she's not here to.
Yeah, to roust a little bit.
Yeah.
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 She online?
Yeah. You know, Rachel is one of those that epitomizes her, you know, as the center of the culture we have. And, you know, when I arrived up to the corner in utility, utility billing and customer service and, you know, all around, one-two person trained new people when they came in and just really picked up on everything. I'm excited about learning, excited about doing new things to the point where the driving force to where we are today. There's been a inspiration, keeps me motivated, keeps me keeps me organized, and sorry she couldn't be here. Back very soon.
Back on Monday.
Monday. Last
And then you leave for vacation.
Timing, right?
well-deserved vacation.
I would say she probably has some catch up to do.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know, Megan's done a great job of filling all of the shoes, all the remaining shoes, and board meeting stuff and so that's the way we operate. But she's not going to be really overwhelmed when you're out for a period of time. There's always a lot to do. But that's where she thrives, and I appreciated her getting involved with the training and conferences and interacting with other agencies and building relationships, and she's a master at it, as you know.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, Rachel was kind of my first protege. She's the one that was dedicated. She was consistent. She wanted to put in the work because it takes a lot of commitment and putting in the work, not easy work. And for a lot of people, it had been too much. They didn't work that hard, or care that much. There was also a level of care that has to go into the work. And some people just want to come in and do a job and go home. And that doesn't fit into the equation, the district or in my department. And so she just took the reins and surprised me at every opportunity that she could. And she has grown. I joke about it and almost every time, because when Rachel showed up, she literally came with a thesaurus and like a little mini thesaurus and just so green. She had never been in this type of field before she did mail service. And to remember, this individual that came that day into what she's grown into is, it's incredible. And I feel that way with all of the staff that I have now. All of the staff has a similar story. And it started with Rachel, and then it's been like paid forward through Megan and Amber and Michelle and now Andrea. And it's just it's really special, and it takes that level and setting the bar for the people that come in to rise to that occasion of the expectation and the care. And for me, Rachel was I found the ground roots of that process. And it's not easy. Developing staff is very difficult, and especially when you lose staff. You have good staff and you lose good staff after all of that time and energy that you have invested in them. It sucks really bad. And so I'm very grateful to the board for developing a work environment through benefits and pay and everything else that has allowed us to retain that good staff and continue to do that good work and not have a handful of people that care and are invested and just constantly doing like a revolving door. the staff. So the district's better for it, and Rachel's a perfect example of the representation of what we are today. And like I said, she's loved by everybody. She just got that great personality. She's very outgoing, she's very bubbly, she's smiling all the time, she's happy, and she gives that energy, and people like to be around that energy. So congratulations, Rachel. Here's
Fantastic. I've never had five major state funded infrastructure projects going at the same time in my career. I've had two. We had five, over $20 million worth. And Rachel was the go-to person. I have to give her credit for keeping me organized. I'd get 4 reimbursement requests totaling, $2 million that Michelle at the end of the table is waiting. It's her that she processes it immediately to get it to the state to make sure that we're reimbursed and have the cash in the bank. And they all require reviews, signatures, making sure all the backups there, all of this stuff. Again, it's not just the state giving you money in advance and saying go to it. They reimburse you based on their approvals, and we have to submit everything in order and to get their approvals. And without her chasing me down everywhere to get things signed and get it in, it would have been a much different administration part of it. She jumped in without periods, really, but picked it up and did a great job.
Yeah, I found out how much she really does care when I first came on. And about how much, it's not just about the 8 hours a day here. And everybody knows me, I'm so busy, I work all kinds of weird hours, and I find myself texting her at some weird hour. I go, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's too late." She goes, "No, anytime. You text me, you message me, you let me know what you got in your mind, talk to me," and she's always been right there. So it's good to have her back too.
Worries about people text her.
Yeah, I think most people don't understand how much. Grants are awesome. It's money, but you have to hit the right bases and everything. You got to keep it going, and it's a lot of work. Sitting here, this is the best we've ever had. So I've been. So yeah. Yep. Right. Any other comments or anything? Okay, we'll move on to recognition of Austin Davis for his 2 years of service to the Groveland Community Service.
This kid he's one of those smiles with his entire body. He absolutely loves his job, loves to get on. In 2 years, he's achieved every certification milestone such as mind on that he gets to, and be a great asset. Yeah, came in with absolutely no experience, but a good work ethic. Only a big asset. Yeah, exactly what we're looking for.
Great. Any comments or? Okay, we'll move on to the consent. Motion.
Vote to approve this. Keller.
I'll second.
So it was moved by Dr. Swan and second by. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
For the record, for the recording, I'll let everybody know we don't have any public members. We have
I'm sorry.
there's public comment. These guys may want to make public comment on things.
Sorry. Sorry, Bob.
I'll make a comment. Comment.
Or just don't say the, hey, Bob. Give you here. Okay.
Oh, this is riveting.
All right, old business. We have no old business, so we're now going to move to public hearing. We're going to conduct a public hearing regarding the adoption of fiscal year 7, 2026 final budget. That's
Yeah, so we're officially opening the hearing at 9:50. Okay, good morning, everyone. So yes, today we're gonna go over the final budget presentation. Fiscal year 26-27. We're gonna repeat some of the slides from the last preliminary meeting, just to remind the public of why we budget. Go over the adjustments that we have made since the last presentation, and we'll look at the fund balances. So getting to it, our mission is to provide environmentally sound, economic, and compliant services that meet our customers' needs for water and wastewater treatment, fire protection, and park facilities in the unincorporated township of Groveland and Big Oak Flat. The budget is created each year, and we follow the board direction and goals, which is to support an excellent, efficient, and qualified staff. Adopt, update solid policies and ordinances. Support facilities and operations to stabilize long-term costs by planning for the future, reduce the rate of cost increase. Support excellent customer service, customer relations, and ensure the financial stability of the district by planning long-term versus crisis, and provide a structure, process, and staffing for competent, transparent, and accountable governance and administration in all district services. So just to review the timeline, again, we met on June 3rd. We went over the preliminary budget, and then we're here today, June 17th, to bring it back for adoption. And then estimated around February, if there's any mid-year budget adjustments, we'll bring them back. Okay. So getting into the adjustments. So since the last meeting, we talked about how I was going to be making some changes to debt service revenue. So the water fund, there's going to be an increase in debt service revenue. It's going to go from $301,000 to $604,000. And that's to coincide with the water rate schedule and the study. Same thing with the sewer fund. We're going to increase that to $414,160. So this adjustment coincides with rate schedule and our outstanding debts. Operating expenses. This wasn't talked about, it's just stuff that had come up in the last 2 weeks. I increased the legal services in the sewer fund by $15,000 to account for some anticipated legal expenses. And then I increased miscellaneous expenses by $5,000, which will be split amongst all the funds. It'll have the administrative split, and that's for employee benefits. That's going to be on the agenda today. Getting into capital expenditures. We reviewed the capital expenditures as we mentioned we would, and we are going to mimic the water fund. And what we're doing is putting a placeholder for the CIP projects. We're going to call it the sewer fund CIP reserve. It mimics the approach with the water fund. We're going to continue to look at our CIP, look at funding, look at timelines, go over engineering. So with doing that, we removed the 2 other projects that were in the preliminary budget. So we decided to remove the influent and bypass pump station improvement projects. That was around $300,000. And then the OSG installation project for about $150,000.
Michelle, can I just add the clarification
Yes.
on that? Spent a lot of time thinking about it, because when the rate study was done and approved, it was anticipated, because of the mass of $60 million in water and $30 million in sewer that we were looking at over the 10-year period. When the rates were adopted, we were only able to look at funding 50% of the sewer and 25%,
20%.
20% of the water. Just because the rates couldn't sustain that level of capital investment, even though we know what's needed, we're going to have to prioritize. The hard part is prioritizing down to that level. And so rather than budgeting for specific projects and spending big chunks of cash on those now, again, the rate study anticipated that we were going to take on a loan sometime in this coming fiscal year, and that we would have a debt service revenue in that if the paid loan. We just haven't decided which projects are best to package into that loan. So that's the challenge for the next month or so, is to package, get those ready, prioritize, ready, and seek some funding proposals for Municipal Finance Corporation or whoever to see what type of rate we can get for those projects. We have, so we can get more done now with the cash. That's what that's all about. You're used to seeing in the last few years, because we've had grants coming in. We've seen the projects listed out in the budget, but we don't have the grants coming in. These additional replacement projects. That's not normal for the state to say, okay, you need to replace a pump. Here's a grant to replace it. So it's going to come out of cash. That's why it's a lump sum when we're talking about is debt service revenue. Sure.
There's a couple of narrative items. There's no changes to the budget. I just wanted to point out that I added some more narrative. Also on this agenda today, we are looking at changing merchant service vendors. That is the credit card processing fee. So I just wanted to put in there that I had reduced expenses by about $66,500 annually if we were to go with that switch. And then there's also a cost savings from the public relations. Since now that we're bringing that in-house, I wanted to point out that I had also reduced the budget. And that's about $30,000 annually. So. We're going to go over the individual funds now. So as a reminder, the water and wastewater are enterprise funds. They are a self-supporting operation, and the district utilizes enterprise funds to manage its water and sewer services. Enterprise funds are used to account for government activities that operate similarly to private businesses. Fees and service charges are the primary source of revenue. This approach ensures that the full cost of providing water and sewer services, including operations, maintenance, and capital improvements, is covered by user fees rather than general tax revenues. Sorry. My mouse is tricky today. Okay, so looking at the water fund and taking in the adjustments, the district is projecting $5,399,000 of revenue, and expenditures are budgeted at $5,453,000. This means that expenditures will exceed revenues by $54,000, which will be drawn from fund balance.
Was anticipated in the rate study as well.
We knew that going into this. But you can also tell I like this chart because you can see revenues, expenses, continually outweigh, but we're kind of getting closer to, that's what the new cost fee increases. Going to the next screen, this is a comprehensive fund summary. This column right here, this was the fiscal year 26 adopted budget. The middle column is where we're projecting that we will end And then we have the final fiscal year 27 budget. So we're looking at beginning fiscal year having $2.3 million in fund balance. You add the revenues of the 5 million, about 400, take out expenses. We're looking at ending the year at $2.2 million in balance. You see that better, Megan? Going to the sewer fund, the district is projecting $4,051,759 in revenue. Expenditures are estimated to be $4,019,803. For this fund, revenues actually exceed expenses by about $31,000.
Reason the graphs drop like that is because of the grant.
It's happening.
Yes. There's a few grants that are rolling over from last year, but not the projects that we've been working on with CDBG and this one would be the sewer project last year. Okay, so again, same columns. The first column is your adopted budget from fiscal year 26. Where we believe will end is the middle column. So we are anticipating going into the year fund balance of $2,015,383. Taking in revenues minus expenses, looking at ending the year at $2,047,000. Moving to governmental funds, the district's fire department and park services, which include the Mary Laveroni Park, Dog Park, Ball Field, Skate Park, and the disc golf course, are funded as governmental services, primarily through property taxes. So of the total property tax revenues received, 92% of it is allocated to the fire department and 8% is allocated to park services. We do receive additional funding through rental income, through fees, grants, and donations. So looking at the fire fund, the district is projecting $1.6 million in revenue, with budgeted expenditures at $2,225,000. This means that revenues are insufficient to cover the operating expenses. So we need to use fund balance of $613,000, just about $613,000. So we need to close that gap to balance the budget.
Again, just if anybody needs into a recording of the meeting, one might ask, well, why don't you just reduce expenses, balance it out? I think we all know that we can't put less than 2 people. And that's the majority of its cost, even if we cut out every other expense in the fire department today, everything. Other than just paying for the fire contract, the revenue and expense would not balance.
And today we are kind of just going over highlights. In the budget book is line by line items, and you can see the same charts, graphs, comparisons, and it lists every single expense, every single revenue that's coming. So today is more of just view, but my budget book is, I think, 170 pages. You can just flip. I know, but you can just flip to each fund and go through and see all the graphs and every single line item.
Get headaches at night.
Sometimes I dream about it. Going through the comprehensive fund summary. We originally budgeted, I kind of just want to go through this one. So original budget for 26, we were anticipating, 1,621,837 in revenue. We're very close to ending, this year at 1.6 still. Looking at expenses, we had budgeted 2.3 million. There was some savings in the Schedule A plan, which is that first expenditure. So we're actually anticipating of ending the year at 1.8 million. So that really helps because we needed that fund balance to roll forward. So we're looking at beginning this fiscal year with a fund balance of 844,506, bring in the revenue minus the expenses and taking out fund balance use. We are looking at ending the year at 230,690. So at the end of this fiscal year, be about $230,000.
Starts phasing in this coming fiscal year. It's over 3 fiscal years because we need to add 3 bodies for the extra 3rd seat.
So the budget for the Schedule A is 1,695,905. That is the contracted. And we budget for the full amount. It comes in under.
If it weren't for the fact that fire always comes in under budget, we
would be
have been out of business.
a couple of years ago. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that really helps with that. Yeah. So every single line item, like I said, is in the full budget. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
So when are they going to start phasing in the 56-hour?
I'd have to look at this contract thing as well.
Right.
So right now, that conversation is being held at the state level. It has very little to do with contracts. Once it's already been put in the office. And because of the fiscal state of the state, for a better term, right, until at least the new great officials are voted in before they shutting down what they consider hours to increase. Realistically, what happens, but that's what they see.
I mean, it's time.
My joke is we hope to see it by the end of Kevin. So that would be nice.
Yeah. It's tough.
You guys are on 72. You guys are on 72 right now. And it's modified.
Well, it's
That's so it is on paper. It's still essentially
My department went to 48.96 instead of, same amount of hours, but different. I did one shift. So you're probably right. You guys will get one shift as a 56-hour work with
And this adds one of the positions in the second half, is what the contract. That's why it's not a huge change this year. That just. We're contracted.
That's the thing I don't think a lot of people understand. Some of this is not, we don't control that. All these people, he's saying, next year, assessment, they don't understand what's actually.
Well, and you can see right here, the property tax is 1.5. This is our main funding. And the contract is more than so. We do get a little bit of miscellaneous revenue. That's now for the cost share. Let's take back the firehouse cost share agreement. They're going to now pay rent. They pay half the utilities, so that's some income. And then the ABH, which is the assistance by hire thing, rent, but other CAL FIRE gets used for vehicles, we'll get some reimbursement, but that's very variable. So can't really count on that. So.
Fire fund and expenses and expenses over revenue is an appropriate discussion to talk about the options that the district has looked at, because that continues to rise itself in forms and social media and everything else. But if you remember, we went to partner with the county on Measure B, formed the JPA, supported that sales tax measure, which would have funneled money directly into the district to help offset that cost, in addition to helping county fire be healthy. And that was a year and a half. That unfortunately was unsuccessful. Supported them the next time they went out. That was unsuccessful. For the sales tax, we've also looked at, as we're in the room, is because we pushed to get the help so that we could maintain our reasonable response time within the district boundaries. And we did accomplish that through June 30 of next year, contract with the county. We're as efficient as we possibly can be at maintaining old equipment. We have a 17-year-old engine, frontline engine. Others are older. And the equipment that we're replacing is done by at least 50% grant, the small equipment and tools and all of that. So we're constantly seeking grant funding on that. The fire department pays only 5% of the district per hit. So 5% of my salary, the cost of maintaining the board, all of the office expenses they get. You could not hire staff to be able to do that on their own for the amount that they pay in the overhead. And we administer all the grant funds. Life grant funds help, do the long-term planning for the fire department and everything else. You can't reduce the amount of fuel you put in the truck. You can't reduce the amount of propane that you use. You can't not heat or cool the building. You can't not have insurance. You have to have insurance. All of those things are minor compared to the cost of the staffing. We can't contract with CAL FIRE for less than 2 people. In fact, we have to go to 3 people eventually on the engine. If we were to attempt to hire, we've evaluated the cost. The county's done a thorough evaluation on the cost of having its own staffed department, and in today's environment, to try to attract talent and be able to staff that department, time people at the level we do with CAL FIRE, it would be more expensive, not only today, but in the long term with the pension obligations and benefit obligations that come with hiring. Volunteerism I think they talk about 8 volunteers countywide, none are here. Volunteers are a thing of the past as far as staffing reliably. You might be able to have volunteers on the roster, but for them to be trained and certified to be able to respond. I know you guys have heard this, but I'm just saying it publicly because it comes out over and over. So no volunteers, can't reduce the staff at CAL FIRE. It's more expensive to hire your own people and maintain the staffing. The difference in the Twain Fire Department, they have 3 separate assessments that run continuously to fund equipment replacement and staffing. They also have, they're on the 108 corridor. That's where the population is. So they have they have access to people that are training and need the time on the engine. And so they're able to keep a couple of staff full time. That is, and they have a 3 at 50 safety retirement for those that have that. So they've got quite an obligation going forward. But they are able to draw from Columbia College because it's commuting distance. It's easy. A lot of people live there. we put out for, what did we advertise for? Reserve staffing or, staffing that we went out for the fire department?
Yeah, it was 2 reserve positions that we flew for 3 years and we received 1 application.
So it's just it's the, we've looked at all of those options, and I can tell you from my decades of experience and with fire departments is that, the best benefit, the best bang for the buck is by far our Schedule A contract. It is, and again, we can't reduce that. So I don't know where else there is to cut. And so I understand, people are concerned, we need to just balance the budget, but we're not like the county. We don't have pots of money that can be moved from one to another. Can't move water and sewer rates, to fund the fire department. So it's not legal. We don't have other miscellaneous revenue available to be able to move in to fund the fire department in the long term. So that's where we are. And that's why we're out to see where the public.
When you mentioned the funds can move to the next, not legal, because that's a question I got. Why don't you guys move money around? Like you say, so how come other places can do it? Yeah.
Because it's discretionary revenue. It's property tax revenue.
Okay.
So for example, I know this isn't the fire department, but at 12 Utilities District, they had, when I left in 2013, they had about $1.5 million of property tax revenue to offset the water and sewer rates. We don't have that. We
could take our property tax, legally speaking, we could use our property tax revenue to subsidize water or sewer.
Mm-hmm.
We could do that as property tax revenue, not use it for anything. We wouldn't have any money left over for fire then.
Right.
You can't do it the other way. The enterprise fund money stay in the enterprise. You can't move water to sewer. We've occasionally loaned money, but you have to pay it back with interest. So it's have to be self-sustained.
City fire and city police and county, the same with the sheriff and law enforcement with fire, they can move money around there because it's discretionary revenue. It's typically property tax or general fund revenue that they have that they can move around. We don't have that. The only general fund revenue we give 92% fire.
So the saying is that it's not legal, not necessarily accurate, right? It's just that if we take it from here, we won't have it here.
No, because the California Constitution, in establishing rates, for water and sewer, has a very strict requirement that the cost of service cannot exceed the benefit that's received by the property, the level of service that's received by the property. In order for us to take revenue from water to fund fire, we would have to charge the property owners more to take that off the top to fund fire, which then it exceeds the cost of providing water service because it's one fire, and then it becomes a special tax that takes a 2/3 vote. We have to get special tax approved to be able to push that water and move the money from water to.
And without the way we are right now, you could move property tax money used for fire right now.
Yeah.
It's legal to move that subsidized water or sewer. It's okay.
Okay.
It's not okay to move water or sewer money subsidize accounts.
Yeah.
Water has to go to water. Water revenue goes to water. Sewer revenue goes to sewer. Period. Can't use it for anything. So we could use property tax revenue, but we only have so much property tax revenue. We'd love to be able to do that.
Right.
But we need a lot more tax revenue.
Is the county doing it?
That has not been back on the fair share fee for development.
Yes.
So it has not been back on the county's agenda since the board of supervisors voted to direct staff to come back with a proposal that didn't charge fair share fee. I think they're finding out legally that there's some problems with that, but that's just my assumption. It hasn't been back to the board of supervisors. They're gonna fight it and try to find a way to not charge it just because they
We ever get property.
you talking about because the fair share fee is something.
No, I'm talking different. I'm talking about when we have a development and like we just had. And they said, no, Matt, we're not sharing taxes.
Right.
That's what I'm talking. How can we ever increase our property tax?
So we can't, that's another thing that's important to understand is that the property taxes are fixed by law. The ad valorem property taxes fixed by Proposition 13. And then they were allocated by an assembly bill, a law now after that. So the only thing that can change is the increase in the property values over time. But the amount that's assessed on property can increase by more than the here. It's different from a special benefit fee, or, fair share fee. Had they charged that or a community facilities district or whatever for new development that went straight into fire? If we were contracting for those services, we could have asked for a piece of that revenue. We would contract it out of that new pot of money. And now they're trying to do this out of general fund. Just don't have enough.
I think maybe what Janice was asking there was, well, I'll ask is, we don't get anything from airport.
The annexation has to be completed.
Because that has to be individually negotiated with the county into a
Tax sharing agreement.
Tax exchange agreement. And it varies throughout the state. Some communities, some counties have a master tax sharing agreement where they've done a study of the cost of services and then any annexations participate in that master tax exchange agreement. Most of the rural counties don't have that, so it's individually negotiated. Many counties say zero, because it costs us too much to provide our other services. Some will give a percentage.
Okay, so the new house that's down on recent. Will we be getting property for that?
Yes, that's within our.
that's in the.
That's the automatic.
Yeah. It's not, it's just, it already falls, it's already negotiated, so that
Right.
exists and that money falls into the equation that we already have with it.
Only annexations.
Because that's, yes, and one of the things that we uncovered through this process is when we talk about annexing properties in the district and getting the property tax, well, the county doesn't have to give districts anything, like there's no, because everything's already set, so we have to be careful when we annex things in, because technically we'd be adding a larger load to our service without actually receiving any funds. And even the funds that we would receive, we already realize we're going to be in a deficit, because with properties we serve right now, it's at 16.1% of property tax. I think we're 300 in the whole year based on all the parcels under the current tax that we receive. So unless it's going to increase above that, anybody that we would annex in fire services, the district are already experienced a deficit with that property. Very bleak.
Which spend a lot of time noodling this. Sometimes I get sensitive when I see people say you've never looked at any options and you haven't looked at your expenses. I'll be glad to answer that question, best of my ability tomorrow night. I can tell you, we have class, and all we're doing is putting it out there that that's where we are.
Quiz. Are you guys 350?
No, sir. 350 went away at 2013, 2014, somewhere around that era. I believe the last full-time guys you guys had on GCC or the county side, Kevin, Travis, Dave. I believe those are kind of like the last cutoff, 350. So what did you guys get? We're at 2.7 and 57. So in theory, if everybody could get the full math equation, so
Excellent. Back to 350.
I believe the last conversations between the union and the state legislature was, put it bluntly, we could either have a 48.96 or we could go to 3 at 55 to get us back to the 3%. But I believe, this my podcast. I believe that 3 at 50 is not going to be on the conversation table for quite some time.
Well, you
50.
asked, I mean, you asked, told everybody their answer. We know, but 350.
So 350 is CalPERS for like a lot of safety retirements. It means that at 50 years old, you're eligible to retire. What you do is you multiply how many years you've got in
Mhm.
by 3. So if you got, let's say you've got 33 and a third years,
Mhm.
you go out.
Okay, and now what is it?
Put it in perspective, Cam, right now we're at 2.7 at 57, which means in theory we would have to serve 7 more years, and we're at a lower percentage place. So if, for example,
It's pension.
yeah, if we were,
Pension.
if we were to, we would have to serve somewhere between, most of us would have to serve between 37 and 40 years to get on.
Yeah.
Whereas the older, and not older generation, the generation of firemen that came before us would have to serve between 25 to 30. And that just obviously gives you it equates to what the contract is going to continually cost, where yes, the contract does go up, but that money doesn't go directly to us, if that makes sense. Like, yes, staffing is a large portion of it. I would agree with that, but the cost of the contract does not equate to simply money in the market. Right. So
Those are all things that you could raise some of them. Really, you know,
I've got a UAL, just like the rest of everybody, and I'm sure Cal Fire has a very significant.
Unfunded accrued liability.
yep.
Okay. Yes. No, I'm sorry, I can't call on people. I'm so sorry. I didn't do that.
Go ahead. It's fine, Michelle.
I think Michelle's eager to get back on track.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add another reason why you guys think twice about running your own fire department here. I had several discussions with Shane Warner when he was the fire chief here. And he said it was great. We hired people, we trained them 3 years, they get all their certificates, they go to the Bay Area and work for double the money. And just become a training mill. And that's expensive.
It's true. And no, typically, once district like ours goes to Cal Fire, you're never going to. You just can't. And that's, people say, well, why don't you run your own fire department? You can't do that. We couldn't afford it.
Be able to have fine guys like these right
Exactly. Hate to say it, when we did go to Cal Fire, I was for keeping our fire department. But we've gotten so many more benefits out of having Cal Fire. Renting our vehicles, things like that. So I mean, it's been a really good. Okay. Give it back to you.
Oh, good. No, yeah. This is just the last fund. So park fund, also the governmental funds. So we are projecting 560,165 in revenue with expenditures of 610,430. So this is going to require us to use fund balance of 50,268 to balance the budget.
When can we put your stuff out there?
As you remember, we went into this fiscal year in a negative balance. The park fund does not have excess funds. We are anticipating ending the year at 55,971,000. And then if all revenues and expenses stay on track, we'll end fiscal year 27 with about, it's under $6,000. So it's a tight budget. Best we can. Utilities wise, that's usually where the biggest expense is. So let's watch watering. Keeping the grass a little bit longer. Just soak in water. Any questions on any of the funds?
The park fund,
Huh?
why would it? 2026 adopted was 686,000.
Oh,
Projected was 380.
that has to do with the Hetchy Railroad Trails project. Those are grant funds that weren't spent, so that he had just spoken about. So we haven't been reimbursed for that. So it's just going to roll forward.
Okay.
We're supposed to have the money for the plan specs and estimates already and be spending that. It's not.
Just going to roll forward this fiscal year. So yeah, that was our budget. Everything's detailed in the budget book. The other items that are before you today for approval is the employee salary schedule. That is on pages 11 through 15.
Can't read it.
So as we talked about last meeting, we used the 3.1% COLA, which is the Western region's index. Their annual, what am I looking? Linked, the CPI, Consumer Price Index. The organizational chart is on page 8 in your budget book. That has been dated from last year. The GAN appropriations limit is on page 155 through 157. So that is calculated each year based on population growth. And our limit this year is about 5.6 million. Excuse me, the GAN limit this year is 5,061,189. The property taxes we receive are under 2 million. So, and then you have your investment district funds policy and the miscellaneous fee schedule, all as attachments. Is my budget presentation. If anyone has any questions.
Only when we have these in the future can we have a part we're supposed to put it in the landscape form. So
Which chart in particular?
well, I'm looking at page 156.
Okay. Yeah, you know how that comes out? It's in the budget book. And so that's how those pages are coming out from the new ClearGov.
You can't
I can print it. I can print it out for you personally, but when it comes, like, and it goes and is presented on the website, it will just go. But yeah, I will definitely print it out for you. For sure. Mom? Yeah, definitely. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Any questions or comments? Awesome job.
Yes.
You
I like the program.
do. It's pretty nice and it presents so much better than our Excel spreadsheets. See.
As lost as I used to be.
For public provides every level of detail anybody could ever want.
Transparency.
It's also in the transparency module, so.
So we're gonna move on to discussion.
John, sorry, we have to close the.
Oh, that's right.
hearing, And then you guys will make your.
And at this point, nobody has any more questions or comments. We're gonna close the hearing.
10:30.
Yeah, then you guys went.
Computer.
Yeah. Hey. All for the vote.
Yeah, to adopt a resolution, what is the resolution number?
20. Oh, 19.
Move to adopt resolution 19-2026. Including the fiscal year 2026-2027 plan. Including appropriations limit, investment of district funds policy, miscellaneous fee schedule, salary schedule, organizational chart.
It was moved by Director Swan, seconded by all in favor? Aye. Ignore.
Oh, geez. Sorry, I heard Laura.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to discussion items. So A, adoption of resolution approving a new hire relocation stipend policy.
Wait,
We don't have one.
we're in a new era. It's not really new. It's been around for a while. And I'm sure you've seen other agencies have some type of sign-on bonus or sign-on benefit of some sort. In this particular case, due to our location, we're attracting supervisory and management and technical professional staff from other areas, and they have to relocate. This is something that can be an impediment to someone who has to move from far away to have to pay a mover, have to incur expenses to get utilities on and everything else in a new location. And this is a recommended policy. At first, it was just going to be a recommended action to the board to establish it because we have an immediate need with a new hire. But at the same time, there are all sorts of laws that govern these types of payments. And so it's recommended that we have a policy that governs it primarily for any reimbursement if we request if someone's terminated or ready for cause, or if they runs in that they aren't going to continue with the district, then there's a prorated reimbursement of the amount that's allocated for their moving this.
How far do you spread that out? If there's a prorated amount.
Let's just say they work 3 months. And they would
It says here that the subject for the portion of the 12-month period not completed.
reimburse the area. 5 months. We can consider. And of course, we would fill them, right? But we can consider repayment or whatever. But it's really sensitive. The laws for new laws, just this last year that make it much more difficult to get that money back. So we have to be very careful. Hope this doesn't occur. But we hope someone, they do a good job, they like what they're doing and safe. But it's becoming, you know, like I said, we've been recruiting for the chief fine operator position for a long time. Very all number of people statewide that are qualified and then even a smaller number that are interested in moving somewhere else. And although we have a competitive salary for the size of the district that we have and the type of services we provide, many others are offering some type of either sign-on bonus or a reimbursement or something. So this would be an amount of money to help them move.
I think I've said a lot of it, and kind of like the employee housing. This has been something that we've seen on the horizon and been thinking about quite some time, and especially as we've always had a difficult time recruiting, but things like when we've had the only really ideal candidate that lives 7 hours away. I mean, we pay, like you said, we pay competitive wages, but for somebody to up and move their life and relocate, that's probably making similar to the same pay. And looking at moving expenses for that, it's about $5,000 to do that. And that can be something that deters somebody from taking a position. Even when we went through our total comp and benefit study, and when we did a revamp of the employee handbook and looking at different benefits and the MOU, this was one thing that kept coming up repeatedly in other agencies. It was either some type of sign-on, but a lot of people transitioned it into relocation because sign-on bonuses, especially from public agencies, just we're not supposed to be giving say bonuses with public funds. So relocation stipends have become very consistent standard in the market. And this new hire that we have, one of the first things he asked was, is there a relocation stipend to aid with the moving? And he said, you know what, we don't have one, but this has been something that we feel we needed to address, and we will bring it to board. So, and establish that
standard in the industry, especially for upper management positions, that everybody's going to get some kind of a bonus, relocation, something. When I read through it, though, I didn't really see specifically, and I know it's probably going to be common sense anyways, that they have to move within the district, or to stipulate exactly how far away they can move.
No, well, their job requires them to live within a certain distance anyways because of response time. So
right,
that's
what I just didn't want to know. I didn't
yes.
assume, or I didn't see it actually in writing.
Correct.
Travel
time.
have to live with him.
So this 30 minutes for this department, for what this position is, and if we were gonna recruit it from for the treatment department, it'd have to be within an hour. That's the time required for them to be on site for on call.
If it was an admin position, it doesn't have the time requirement, but we would expect someone to be commuting 2.5 hours.
Yes,
No, but then, in a lot of positions like that, the county's perfect example is that we're having a really bad housing market in the area. And so a lot of people in those positions are offering a significant amount of remote work to allow just to be able to get somebody, because they're not going to want to up and relocate their life, or there's no affordable housing for them, but they need positions. So the labor market's just very interesting right now. A lot has changed drastically since COVID. And I think the district's doing a pretty good job at keeping speed and keeping, staying competitive in the market. But it is very interesting how creative, and even with how creative agencies are getting, everybody is, and it's not just us. And, we suffer because of our location, but everybody is struggling getting qualified candidates to fill positions that a lot of people are starting to retire. So
seen a lot, big difference. When our districts being run and everything by the changes that we have made, accommodate. Over here. It's important times. Not everybody wants to live here, which is fine with me because I don't want everybody to live here. Myself, you know, that's why I moved here is because I like the size of this town. So,
On the fiscal impact, just make sure, what is in the current coming budget authorization? The current budget that we just authorized, what's the limit? Stipend,
5,000.
that's the 5,000 that's referred to here is in fact, and it's consistent with what we put in the budget. So
What would it be if someone,
5,000 is the max right now.
First time out, we don't have the experience with it.
particularly not going to get somebody from state.
At least in that right now. But yeah, so 5,000 is the max, and this was reviewed by legal counsel thoroughly, and they made a couple of minor edits, but one of the things they just highlighted was the clawback clause, which is if they left, getting our money back. So there can be challenges. That's
Just take it over their last check.
Our money.
well, you can, but if they wanted to, it's just that there's a lot of things that are, I mean, and that's with anything that you give people is like, okay, well, we're going to take this back. It's just a really gray area.
get quotes for? Yes, at 5,000.
No, I mean, we looked at moving expenses, what other agencies offer.
You have any special?
No, not that I don't know if Twainhart having issues.
They're less than half the size we are. They've been, again, they've got many times the employee pool in that area. They haven't had to do. But I know, I don't.
All right, so that's it in a nutshell. And like Bob, this is already part of the budget that was adopted, so it could be modified week.
question.
Okay with it.
We'll entertain a motion.
Yeah. We'll make a motion to adopt mission being a new hire relocation. Okay.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so it was moved by Director Mora and seconded by Director Swan. Any more discussions? Anybody in the audience or online? Okay, so I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. You're up. Moving on to 7B, option of resolution authorizing agreement with Express bill pay for credit card and electronic payment process.
Okay, so this is under my name, but the credit really goes to Megan. Not only did she essentially do 99% of all the work that goes to this point, but she wrote the submittal for the most part as well.
we've been talking to the board about this for quite some time. Credit card merchant fees have gotten really expensive, towards over $66,000 a year. In addition, so we've looked at options just because of how high of an expense that is annually. And given the fact that there's a handful of customers that continue to pay by other means, those customers are in some way subsidizing the credit card users. Their current merchant that we have is limited. I mean, it's great. We've come really far from where we started, but there's limited functionality to the current Civic Pay that we have. So we looked at other options. Things are going to be more efficient. Things will offer different payment methods, something that would be, we don't want to pass the fees on. It's really been nice to be one of the last holdouts of a company that doesn't pass the fee along, but it's just gotten to the point where not doing so is more of a problem and a little bit irresponsible. So with that, over a year and a half now, at least, we've been evaluating different companies, and we landed on Express Bill Pay. Express Bill Pay allows us to take credit card payments. It allows us to take electronic funds transfers. So that's like when you put in your check and it comes directly from your bank account as far as a check. People will be able to take more than just Visa and MasterCard. We'll be able to take Discover and American Express, right?
Currently.
So with the new Bill Pay. Okay.
Yes, we can select which cards.
Any other features? There's like text by or pay by text.
Yeah, they can pay directly through their bank account. Like, so currently we can't take that unless they're set up as an ACH. So if they wanted to either log in online or pay over the phone, they can give bank account information. Then it can be processed as an electronic fund transfer. And then they can get like the text to pay, or they can pay over the phone with their payment system rather than doing.
Is there a charge for the ACH now?
No, okay, so this is what we're offering. So there's a difference. So right now we don't charge anything for the ACH. What's coming on with this is electronic funds transfer, which is different than the automated clearinghouse. We are still going to be offering the ACH in-house as a no-cost option. So customers still have the option to have a payment option where they're not paying a fee. They can move to ACH or they can pay by check. So there are options for them to essentially not be subject to this. So we'll have credit cards, electronic funds transfers, ACH, and then cash or the charge would be 3.5% of the transaction amount with a minimum fee of $3 and then $2 per transaction fee for the electronic funds transfer payments. And so other than that, I know I've talked about this a couple times with the board, and I don't know if it was the last meeting or the one before, I kind of went into the details of the agreement. Today, we'd like to get it approved because they are several months out for implementation, because this is a process to move from one merchant to another and to get everybody transitioned over. We would like to, if we do this now, it takes several months. So we're looking about October, which looked good for us as far as districts, what's going on at the district. It kind of gets slow in the October, November months. And it'll come at a annual cost savings of over $66,000 district. So
I make a motion.
The district rate.
So what was the 3.5% that you were just talking?
The 3.5% is of the bill. So if your bill is $86, the credit card fee will be 3.5% of the $86.
It's a minimum charge of $3 or 3.5.
That's what we were trying to get rid of, weren't we? The having to pay or absorb the.
No.
We've been absorbing.
Charge, this is.
Charge.
Oh, okay, so that's true, yeah, so that was.
Pair, right, it's impound, which is become pretty much school goods. It does.
Yeah.
Still seem a little bit high.
Well, they had a different option. It was. What was the other one where it fluctuated and there's absorbed? So merchant fees are weird because you've got rewards cards. So all the rewards that you're getting, the credit card's not giving you those. They're charging the people that are using it these fees to then pay. So we get charged two fees essentially. We get charged the merchant fees just to process the payments. And then the credit card charges us a ton of fees for all of the different types of credit cards that are used throughout the month. That's what equals the $66,000 that we're paying essentially. So there was an option to have a lesser, Megan's looking at it now. It's a lesser percentage and maybe a dollar amount, but it left it variable. And whatever it went over, the district had to absorb that cost because it's not consistent depending on what kind of credit card people are using. So
Percent is pretty 3 to 3.5%.
It is. And because we were trying to eliminate the possibility of the district. So what happens is with the 3.5% is the merchant's taking on that risk. So they even told us sometimes there may be less and sometimes it may go over. And so they're taking on that risk of having to pay credit cards, whatever that fluctuating rewards essentially fee is from the credit card companies. Where the other one, we were charging less, but then they were billing the district for that fluctuation. And this way we don't have any fluctuation whatsoever. So it was consistent and non-variable.
It was the same percentage. It was whether or not the district.
3% plus
the 65
cents.
I'm thinking that 3.5% is just a little bit on the higher range, but that $3 per transaction seems really high.
I believe that's the minimum transaction fee. You have to charge at least $3 to use your credit card.
Which I did get clarification from him.
Because it costs so much to.
Right, that just seems high.
He said, because I did ask him last week, he said it has to do with what the average comes out to be to make the fees work. So we found that in order to make passing the cost to the customers work, they have to have that minimum charge. Even if the customer pays like a $2 bill with a credit card, it's still a $3 charge. So they have to like average it out amongst everyone.
This is for our rates, so they're never gonna be less than 5, 10.
There's some customers who have a $2 a month super stub fee that they pay. Typically, they'll pay like $24 for the year because they don't want to have to remember to pay a $2 a month fee. But some people still just pay the $2. So
and again, we have other options for them to not have to pay the fee.
Yes. You can do the ACH.
Check cash reach.
Yes. And so Streamline is the billing software that we use, and they have Civic Pay, which is what we currently use for the payment processing. They've made it very clear that while they're making some updates to Civic Pay, they don't intend to really invest further into having more options with Civic Pay because they're third partying with Express Bill Pay. So Express is going to have newer features and more conveniences. Civic Pay does not intend to move with offering these things.
Or leave the Streamline.
No, we'd still be using Streamline for our software, but it's just instead of using their Civic Pay for payment, Express.
I looked at other vendors as well, and plus CSCA endorsed affiliate, but they don't have the capability to fluctuating monthly bill. If everybody was charged a flat rate every month, then they offer a service to be able to, might be a you'll have a flat rate, so it's not even an option.
Yeah, and I'm not even know comparison with retail on here, so that's one of the things we can't compare. Well, mine aren't.
Move to adopt resolution 6, authorizing Express bill pay, credit card and electronic process.
Second. Okay, it's moved by.
Question.
Yeah, I'll ask it.
Ask it before we.
Before.
Oh, yeah.
Ask it, does it?
So like I pay bank and it basically sends a check. Can they still do that? All right, so it was moved by Director Kowski, second by Director Swan. All for the vote, all in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0.
There's no.
Okay,
Great.
It has a lot of letters.
okay. My God. Awesome, moving on. Let's see, discussion. 7C, discussion of closeout of urban multi-benefit drought relief grant. Community service agreement number 4600014688.
The reason this is on the agenda is because I think it is an under appreciated, not by this board, staff, but underappreciated project. This was a over $8.5 million grant funded project that developed a full-blown emergency alternate water supply project. It's huge. There are not very many agencies in the state of California that can say that if their primary source goes down, that they can continue to go without massive water conservation. In this case, that was the intent of the project, and I hope that this will be exactly that. We built it to be able to operate that way. So a couple of things. I really think from a public understanding of this, that we, even though the project is completed, that we should have some type of a ribbon cutting ceremony. We really need to get out there in front of this and show, continue to say the good things that we're doing, because this is multi-generational. This goes on for all future. Back in 1993, the state of California, then it was the Department of Water Resources, came out because Hetch Hetchy by mandate called for a 50% reduction in water use. That's when the state started to look at the Hetch Hetchy supply and whether it could meet all the demands of the Bay Area and Groveland. I mean, I'd be fairly on in a relationship with the city, but the reports they issued have some grave concerns over what our alternate water supply would be in the event that we had to cut back that much or even more, and how we could meet demand. That report that was buried on a shelf over here. But we saw this opportunity come up. And the state was flush with money and putting money out there for these types of projects so that they didn't have to rescue people, in the future. Really important to the state. So this is a very a summary presentation about this, and then we can talk about a ribbon cutting at a future time. But are you asking or? Okay, so it was 8.57 million in grant money. And today the state is out. That's why Louis not here. They're out marveling over this. And I'm not sure what other types of inspections they're doing, but they're very, they passed on that they're very pleased with this. If we did a ribbon cutting, I would definitely be inviting the folks from the State Department of Water Resources and State Water Board, recognizing them for their contribution here. It had to be broken down into 3 projects because of the timeline to get the work done and meet the requirements of the grant. So we had to bid it separately. We had to administer the contract separately. We had to do inspections separately. It was much more of a project broken down into three. But the main components here, for example, the groundwater well and Big Oak Flat, we drilled a couple of wells. We drilled one over here by the ball field that had produced some water, but not enough. We went up on by the Tank 5 site and were able to get a good supply of water. Our goal was to be able to isolate part of the system, and even under the worst case scenario, we could supply a portion of the system. It worked out really well for Big Oak Flat because the groundwater well that was installed, that's not just a hole in the ground like you'd see on a piece of property outside the district. These are, you can see it's a $1.3 million groundwater well. Includes all sorts of controls. It includes all sorts of chemical feed equipment and testing and monitoring all of that stuff that's necessary for public drinking water. And for this production well, let's just look at a scenario. The Hetch Hetchy supplies reduced significantly. And this water supply, we can turn off the valve in between Groveland and Big Oak Flat and keep Big Oak Flat with water out of this groundwater. If everybody else in town ran out, that area would continue to have this groundwater supply. It also, if we were in a drought scenario, we would operate that well, because if we tried to achieve 50% reduction with our transient population, so transient meaning term rentals and all that, when they come up here and rent a place and they see something mandatory 50% water conservation, how much attention do they really pay to it? There's nothing for us to shut off and make them reduce. They're going to take showers, they're going to cook, they're going to, they're on vacation. It's really difficult. So, and we have to meet it under our contract with the city. So this helps us meet that by supplementing the system. Huge benefits for that groundwater well. So that was one component of it. And that well, I think it was drilled to 600 feet, but I think we went deeper than that. But it produces enough to meet the demand of Big Flat. Excited. So that was one of the components. The next one was a tank, which was, you saw the ring foundation in that last slide. We erected a 140,000 gallon water tank to hold the water produced by the well and to blend with any water we have remaining from Hetch Hetchy or whatever. But then also a pipeline all the way down from that new tank to connect to Big Oak Flat. What's that do? It allows us to be able to store and feed that water down to Big Oak Flat. It provides a pipeline that now has fire hydrants in locations where they were not there before. A new water service available for properties that might develop along the area. And it also provides a significant amount of water supply to Big Oak Flat that wasn't there. Our master plans have always identified Big Oak Flat as deficient in water storage and supply for fighting a fire. You have to be able to, if you think about Mesa, Palisades. What's the big buzz there? Well, they didn't have water. They shut down their water supply and they didn't have an alternative, and the fire hydrants were dead. Well, it's another story, but we have to plan on a minimum of a fire hydrant operating for 2 hours and have the storage available to that fire for 2 hours at one height. That's what is intended, to get a small fire under control.
By having the well in Big Oak Flat, we reduce the amount the district uses.
So we have the ability to. We're not going to operate it on a regular basis because we have to treat it.
Qualify for the reduction.
Yeah, help us reduce water consumption in the drought scenario, consumption from the Hetch Hetchy system. And it also provides that pipeline and the tank allows us to be able to isolate that system. Before, if we had a broken main in Big Oak Flat, in many cases, the entire area would be out of water to do that repair. And that's if the pipeline failed between Groveland and Big Oak Flat, there's no other feed into it. It just provides a redundant supply so that if, let's just say, on the grade area, if or on the divide, if the pipeline broke, we just shut that off, isolate that, and it would run out of the other way. And that way we can do maintenance as well. So that is a huge benefit to fire hydrants. The water supply for firefighting is a huge thing. And if you look at the ISO ratings, ISO meaning the Insurance Services Organization Office, they operate fire hydrants in various areas of the community, and depending on how much water flow out of the hydrant, and also how well maintained that system is, they give you a rating, and that rating is used to some degree by the insurance companies to set your fire insurance. The hydrants in Big Oak Flat have always been deficient. Some of them, when you operate a fire hydrant, everybody else loses water because the pipes, they were too small. There was only one way in. You only get so much water through a single pipe. Now there's two pipes, one 8-inch and one 6-inch. It's a lot of water. So that project is huge, from insurance, firefighting, and water supply for Big Oak Flat. Again, it takes the demand off the rest of the system too. Next slide. So that was the second project. The third one, the most expensive of the three, is one to really be celebrated. He relocated the Paul trailer. It truly is a water treatment plant in a truck. That's what it looks like on the inside on the left. Anthony Trujillo is, giving it the thumbs up. But anyway, this was to operate the system where it was in the parking lot of the High Mountain Lake maintenance yard. Pipes above the ground and all over the place, and temporary stuff here and there. It was intended originally to just be for a single tunnel outage scenario. This is now for a permanent outage scenario. Permanent or long-term or intermittent. We've already received word from the city and county they may have to shut it down again to do a little bit more work. This winter, which we weren't expecting. So not only does all we have to do is fire this thing up, flush it out, get it going, sample the water. Within a day, we're up and running. It took us much longer, a week's time in that temporary arrangement in the maintenance part. So if there was a contamination issue in Hetch Hetchy, if there was a significant interruption, or they just said they had to shut it down, this gives us the ability to be able to fire up and get going right away. So even a major pump failure in a treatment plant, we've got some work that we need to do with the irrigation districts that have the rights in Pine Mountain Lake, and with Hetch Hetchy, with City and County of San Francisco, to enter into some type of a long-term emergency scenario, so that in the event that there is any type of failure, that we can use that on an emergency basis. But when it comes to state water rights and everything else, an emergency basis is much easier than an ongoing supply out of Pine Mountain Lake. So even under natural disasters, if there was an earthquake that hit a public of the tunnel, or anything else, a major fire caused trouble with it, with water quality in Hetch Hetchy, pump failure at either of our treatment plants during high demand, this thing is ready to fire up on a moment's notice and certified by the state. So that's a huge deal. Look down the hill, with TUD when they had the trees go through the flume. Remember the Boy Street fires got all in an uproar and they were gonna help them out and go seek federal money and everything else to get that done. Been there, done that. You know, that's been around for forever. And that is a big problem because that's their source of supply. They don't, if that, when that flume goes down, within 30 days, Sonora is out of water. And that's under a normal demand scenario. So they don't have, you know, they're working on it, but they don't have an alternate scenario there. We have an alternate scenario.
Small question. When we run the AWS, we bypass the UV.
It has for Louis because it's
I'm just saying, no, anything else at least it would allow us to.
it doesn't bypass it's different because it doesn't have the it's not surface water unfiltered. This is a filter plant,
Right.
so it's a different effluent. If we were going to be operating this at the same time we were operating the Hetch Hetchy system, we would have to get a variance from.
It's the same time. I mean, it was when Hetch Hetchy is shut down.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Filtration and disinfection.
Not supposed to. Comfort.
It's UV. We actually don't, so we could save up.
I'm saying this because
It's a really small point because just we do spend a certain amount of money on those UV bulbs.
yes.
And I'm just curiosity. Other thing is, and I may have simply missed something. I probably should know this. We still have that other Paul trailer.
Yeah.
Is there anything useful we could do with it?
Yeah, we can modularize, we can add to the treatment capacity there. If we can get it, you know, I mean, again,
Cherry Lake appears to be not on city and county's menu or so they can't process it.
right? Yes, it is.
Pretty good. So we do actually have, well, so we got a backup trailer.
At this point, we dropped a lot of parts off of it because, you know, we needed them to and everything else, but that doesn't mean that it's incapacitated. They're still readily available and the site was set up to be able to expand with additional modules. It was actually intended to be within a building, you know, taken out and within a building separately, but the cost of the building and the cost of, you know, heating and air conditioning a building and
Already in a trailer.
yeah. So the site is adequate to be able to be expanded in the future. And if there ever was there's capacity within the pipeline, because this was not only the treatment plant location, relocating that, but installing a 12-inch pipeline from that site all the way to the lake pumps.
Hetch doesn't plan on closing down.
We got notice that they might have to. But that was the end of the conversation. They were just putting us on notice that they may have to. Which is good for us in securing a long-term agreement, you know, because right now we're under a short-term agreement that terms out, I think, in 27 with Modesto and Turlock and the city to be able to use the water out of Pine Mountain Lake, tunnel outage. There will be some expense associated with extending that agreement. You know, I mean, 1 year basis, probably not. On a long-term basis, there would be some water rights work that would have to be done. But again, it would be an emergency supply unless for some reason we applied for it to be the primary source of supply, which we don't anticipate at this time. But the beauty is we've got a fully redundant emergency supply. And rock solid for the future. Yeah, we're not gonna be the Palisades first forms like a I mean, I'd be able to float 20,000 gallons a minute for 8 hours.
Can anybody else?
To anybody else.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was kind of a celebration of a big end of a big project. The closeout was significant. A lot of paperwork, a lot of documents, a lot of reports that had to be filed. We had to get amendments with the state and different things. So a lot of this stuff happens.
I don't know, long time coming. It's a big project.
Yeah.
So say that we had a huge fire from Fire Plus coming through and we had to supply a ton of water. We'd be able to bypass treatment of that water just to fight fire?
We'd have to issue an immediate boil water order.
Right.
You know, if we exceeded the standards. But all of our pumps go through the treatment works anyway.
Right.
But if we needed another 1,000 gallons a minute or so going into the system, my direction, agreement or not with the other players would be to turn this thing on and keep it full. I don't think anybody's going to argue it. We may come in and they want us to say, I'm sorry
about it later.
Fires up.
But that is a big deal. How long it would run? I mean, it's on PG Power is just about ready to be hooked up on it. If it hasn't already, I know they were getting ready to do it. We've been on a generator since it started, but once it's on PG Power, we'll still have a backup generator. How long it could run in a big fire scenario with nobody operating it? I mean, we can operate it remotely a little bit, but not much.
When we do have fires, and agencies start to pull out bodies of water, that work?
Cities of water?
Yeah, and the go into Don Pedro, is it just like there's no rules about water rights at that point? They just have to.
Silent.
Okay.
You don't know that that's the overall future, I mean, the minute that the state starts to mandate that that you operate your system not only for domestic use, but for firefighting, and that you maintain capacity in your system as a condition of your permit. And they start looking at, I mean, in reality, it's probably not that much water they're using in total, dipping out of the lakes and all that, but you can see it becoming an issue, especially in the extended drought. I mean, I've stood on the edge of Lake McClure with the pumps, 500 feet down and out of water, not even in the water, just sitting there on the bank of the lake and looking at the Merced River down below with a boat floating in it, pumping up to the pumps and wondering what we're going to do when that river stops flowing, because you got to move 5 miles downstream to get to the water. So maybe it's, there's some, I haven't heard it yet, Jen. I haven't heard anybody say.
They were, when we had that meeting here when we were talking. Yeah. I was sitting next to the chief and he goes, "Oh, there's a fire on Merrill Road." Oh yeah. Not to be my tweaker neighbor. Yeah. And he ran away from it. He's burning copper. So
Public grain was floating off of it.
yeah. So I got home, there were 2 fire engines staged at my driveway. Went up, there's 2 fire engines in my arena. So they're, yeah. I was thinking, I wish everybody at that meeting could have seen at $400 a year, nothing spent. They had aircraft, they had everything, spotter. That was big fire.
Well, I mean, what's the best case scenario? You keep a small fire small.
Yeah.
If nobody's home, if there's just one engine here, we've got, again, it relies on rear power and everything else, but If resources are committed elsewhere and it takes them an hour to get to it, get out of hand pretty quick.
But he ran away. I should be. This meeting, I'll tell you after. It's
It should be celebrated, should go down in the books and
It's a long time coming, that project.
yeah,
it's awesome.
really like to put it out there as publicly as we can, just something that this isn't possible without our, the staff that were involved, the competence of the district staff and relationship with the district engineer and having good contractors and everything else.
What do you like to do?
Oh, just a ribbon cutting event and invite the state and
I think it's a good idea.
I think that it puts us out there in front of really, in a time when people are struggling with this throughout the state, to be able to say we did it.
It really wasn't a long process. Like this grant wasn't really,
No, it happened fast. It was like a 30-day turnaround.
But when were we notified of the opportunity? In 22? 25.
Well, it was later than that. I think it was in the very beginning of the presentation.
Yeah.
Anyways, to get notice, to get funding, to get projects executed. I mean, the downtown Groveland one. We were on that for almost.
Yeah, 23. Yeah, I think we got the contract in 23. We were starting construction in 24, finished in 26.
But I mean, part of it is when I say it's been a long time, we've been talking about it for really long. While
We haven't. Really good.
I don't know if we haven't talked about it in sort of weeks. I think we need to mentally physically wait until after July, but probably like maybe early fall. Yeah, one of the things with the fire assessment vote, calm down and
yeah, there's that too.
It's like early fall, like when it'll be a little cooler to be standing
Yeah.
outside for any length of time.
exactly.
Me who hates.
Give us time to plan it out.
Come out of
Thank you. Very good.
Yeah.
And never, ever.
That's just but take Andrew to put this stuff together. No time at all. I mean, she's just
Well, she's been working on
talented.
it for a week now. But she's also creating something for a social media message. She's trying to create something. So this is Andrea's work. Is fabulous.
There's no action needed here. So we're going to close this meeting. We're going to go into closed session. So
closing it at 11:30.
31. Does anybody?
I'm
take a
I'm
break?
sorry.
The meeting, we're convening in closed session.
Oh, okay, so we're
Adjourning.
turning into closed session.
We don't have any public comment prior to it.
Yeah, very public information.
Michelle.
Reconvening into open session after. We have an announcement of action taken. Session.
For the closed session matter, there were two potential cases. For the first potential case, the board authorized execution of a settlement agreement pertaining to Groveland Community Services District and Yosemite Highway 120 Chamber of Commerce. And for the second case, the board authorized execution of a settlement agreement between Gloria Pavlichenko and Marvio Levi and the Groveland Community Services District. both by a 5-0 vote, and those agreements would be on file with the district after executed by all the parties.
And now we can adjourn.
I do have one thing from Bonnie that she asked me to read. Sorry, adjourn. Fine. Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, she said, I know. I got it later. She said I wanted to read this during public comment, but be sending it to be shared with the team when you have time. She said for the past 8 years, I've had the privilege of being part of GCSD, at first up close and then for much of it from a distance. I've had the opportunity to work remotely and I'm very grateful. It allowed me to stay connected, stay informed, part of the team when I wasn't physically in the room. So while I've always been on site, I've stayed close to the work and learned a great deal from it. I've seen water main breaks, grant work, budget meetings, emergency calls, infrastructure projects, and learned how to learn just how slowly things move in a special district like this. What I've learned is simple. The people in this district running are motivated by service. I've watched operators, management, admin staff, and the board all carry a level of responsibility most people never see and often work longer hours than is reasonable for anyone. And I've seen that not every public critique reflects the reality of the work behind the scenes. Here's what I know. While others are talking, you are working. While others are criticizing, you are planning. While others are looking for problems, finding solutions. Most people never see the hours, planning, and care that goes into keeping this community safe, supplied with clean water, going its parks by a local fire department. I've seen enough up close and from a distance to know what it takes. What I've seen is people who care deeply about this community and about each other. So when the days are long, remember this, your work matters. This community is better because of you. Thank you for letting me be a small part of the team. And after this with GCSD, I can say with complete confidence, the good you do far outweighs the bad. Thank you all for allowing me to be part of your efforts for as long as you did and from such distance. I am
Very nice.
I couldn't look at you. I don't wonder she was a communications person.
Josh, thank you for all the help with this.
Thank
And
you, Josh.
sorry to put you through this early on in our relationship. But it's such a good foundation for what we've got going on in the future. Promise.
Thank you for that.
Good job.
All right, talk to you soon.
Hi, Josh. Should we adjourn?
Yes, we can adjourn.
Well, 19.